let's talk a little Friday night lights. If you have anything, a lot of the matchups are still TBD. I'll throw out ECU just as a kind of a look. They've dealt with a lot of injuries. Small still not playing, but they've started to figure some things out of late. They just destroyed Tulane. How they, 2 days. I think Tulane's wearing down. They don't have a deep bench. And Tulane plays a very unique defensive style. They just saw it. They just shredded it. And they're playing 2 days later. So what does that mean? Like, they just played at ECU, and now they're going to play at Tulane. So what does that mean? Well, they both were in the same place on Wednesday, and now they travel to the same place on Friday. So, like, the home court advantage and the travel impact is just not as great. So, yeah, I think ECU might have some value here at Tulane after just winning. A lot of people are going to say, oh, Tulane's going to bounce back here. But seeing that complex defense putting up 83, I think Tulane might be wearing down here. And they're not a really deep team. So I think ECU might have some value here. BJ, anything catch your eye or you have circled potentially for Friday?
How about Northern Iowa against Bradley? Northern Iowa just beat Illinois State in the first round here of Arch Madness. Bradley's on this crazy win streak right now. We're up to what, 10, 11 game win streak? 10-game win streak here. The last time these two teams faced off in Cedar Falls, Bradley shot 16 of 26 from behind the arc. So Bradley's eventually going to, it's a team that's obviously played very well at home this season, not very well on the road. So now we're on a neutral floor. Could be a good time. And I also like in these tournaments, the team that's already played one game, catching them, a team that hasn't played yet could come out with a little bit of rust in the first few minutes here. So
and you got some gym familiarity,
right.
Rim familiarity.
Exactly. So, give me the Panthers. It looks like Ken Palm has it at 10, so I'll take the Panthers. Anything double digits.
Yeah, and Northern Iowa today, easy win. The only thing is that they give up a ton of threes, so if they're falling, they could get blown out for Bradley. But I don't hate that. I have it circled as well. Mike, anything for Friday?
Yeah, I like New Mexico against Colorado State. I know they got to play on the road, but it's just not the same team. Nico Medved's team really just kind of fell off a cliff this year. He did a great job in program building, working his way up through the mid-major ranks, gets to Colorado State. Last year's team, I was really disappointed. They started well against Michigan in the tournament and then kind of fell apart. I loved what they had with David Roddy, but all the pressure's now on Isaiah Stevens. If he's not special, they can't cover against anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and lay probably up to 4 in this game. I also think Jamal Mashburn Jr. is due for a bounce back. He's shot, I want to say 28% across his last 3 games. He is such a key part of their offense, a cog. He's one of the few remaining, mid-range jumper players in all of college basketball. So I like the spot there. And then from a strategy perspective as well, the Mountain West Conference tournament, you want to get that bye and you got to get to the 5th seed. And right now, San Jose State is up a game on them, but they beat them twice. So if they can win this and then San Jose State loses on the road at Air Force in the season finale, they're going to get that bye. They're going to have to win the conference tournament to make March Madness at this point. So, not the wear and tear on your body. It's not necessarily that they can't win that first game, but I don't want to see them have to string it all together all in 4 days or whatever it is. So a lot of value for New Mexico if they can go out and win this basketball game.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk Mountain West. I think I'll be doing that with Jim on Sunday. It's going to be a fast. Can't wait to see what the bracket, the seedings end up being. It's going to be a fascinating conference tournament to break down. Can't wait to lose more money on Fresno. All right, let's move on to Saturday. A couple spots. We'll just do 2 or 3 each. If you only have 1 or 2, that's fine. I mentioned earlier. Who did I mention earlier? What was the spot I mentioned? Texas A&M. Similarly, pointing at rings. You get a ring here, pointing at rings. Kansas pointing at rings the other day. The one thing I'm still worried about them is their depth. And I thought that they were starting the show. There's no depth now. Against Texas Tech, let's see. Yesufu played 9 minutes, and that's it. Everyone else basically played the entire game. So they've been in close games. They've been overvalued for, I think about the last 3 games. West Virginia, they barely held on. Texas Tech, these were exhausting games. And I'm a bit worried about their depth. They go to Texas, who has revenge coming off of a loss. I like the matchup for Texas here. They've been dynamite at home. I think Texas gets this win. It should be a short spread. They're off 2 losses on the road to Baylor and TCU. And I think Texas ends the year or the regular season with a victory over Kansas. Mike, let me throw it to you. What do you have circled for Saturday?
Quick shout out to one of our listeners, David Simpson. I was talking to him last night, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and play Pitt. I'm going on this rant about how underrated they are. And he goes, hold on, is this Mike Bray's last home game as Notre Dame's head coach? And I was like, right, you are. So I flipped that around and went Notre Dame money line. Now, out of a trap game, a trap loss for Pitt, I'm going to play them on Saturday against Miami with a chance to at least share the ACC regular season crown. I still think they're undervalued. You're probably going to get points in this spot. So I'm going to go with the Panthers. And just from a pure situational narrative structure, that's why I'm on the Panthers.
Najee Pack is questionable too for Miami.
Yeah, that's major.
Yeah. I'm going to go Villanova at home against Connecticut. Connecticut's red hot right now, just when we want them to be. They beat DePaul by 29. They're up 42-8 at one point against DePaul on Wednesday. But Villanova's starting to catch fire as well. I mean, they've won their last 3 games. They've beaten Xavier and both Creighton in those 3 games. Connecticut won the previous meeting in Stores, but Villanova did lead at one point in the second half, and they had a pretty off shooting night, going only 5 for 22 from behind the arc. They did do one thing incredibly well in that game, is they kept UConn off the offensive glass. They allowed UConn to get 8 offensive rebounds. Connecticut's the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the country. Villanova during conference play is second in defensive rebounding percentage. So it wasn't like this fluky game where Connecticut couldn't grab any offensive rebounds. UConn is a high volume 3-point shooting team. They're 3rd in the Big East in 3-point rate, but more specifically, catch and shoot 3-pointers. They're a top 25 efficiency team in those. Villanova's the number 1 team in the conference in defending catch and shoot 3-pointers. It's going to be difficult for Villanova to get open looks in this game. They're obviously a very high 3-point shooting team as well. UConn is outstanding at defending the 3-point line. They're along the fourth lowest 3-point rate in the entire country. But Villanova does get to the free throw line at the 3rd highest rate in the Big East, and they're shooting the highest free throw percentage in the entire country at 83.2%. UConn is 332nd in the nation in free throw rate allowed. This is also a situation where the Big East tournament, the top 5 seeds get a bye, which UConn has already locked up the 5th seed, and they could play their way up to the 4th. Probably not going to play their way up to the 3rd because Creighton is playing DePaul, and they're most likely going to beat them. Villanova needs to win this game to lock up the 6th seed. So Ken Palm has it at Connecticut -5. So I'll take Villanova. Pretty much anything plus the points here.
Yeah, if you look back for Villanova, and Justin Moore, by the way, is like fully integrated in the offense now. He's their best on-ball defender as well, and he's been great offensively the last couple of days. The last couple of games, I should say, he's shaken off all of the rust. If you look back, they lost 3 straight to Xavier, DePaul, and Butler. Kind of bottomed out then. They've gone 8-4 since, with wins I've just mentioned over Seton Hall, Creighton, and Xavier in their last 3. Actually swept Seton Hall. They lost to Providence at Providence. They led in the second half in that game. They lost at Creighton by 5. The game was a coin flip late. They lost at Marquette. They led in the second half. They lost at home to Providence. Game was a coin flip with a minute to go. They've been in every single game over the last 12. And yeah, they're playing really well. Fascinated to see what those future odds end up settling for Villanova in the Big East tournament. And they're going to have to go through a gauntlet. They're probably going to be no value. It might be a good money line rollover candidate. Another spot, I'm going to go Ohio State. I'm keep riding Ohio State here. They're at Michigan State. It's senior day for Michigan State. I know, I get it. That could work against some teams. They come out a little nervous, trying too much. Ohio State got embarrassed at home, but against Michigan State a couple weeks ago, but they've started to figure some things out rotation-wise post Zed Key. And if you look at that game and advanced box score game grades, it was basically graded as even. And Ohio State shot 6 of 29 from 3. I think we're going to get some value in the Buckeyes. Keep riding the hot hand. Mike, anything else?
Depends what number you get on the total, but the last time UCLA and Arizona hooked up, I want to say they finished 58-52 UCLA, or maybe it was Arizona in that game, but 110 points. It went under the total by 30. So if it's south of, like, let's say 149, I like the over here. I think the fact is Arizona may not be my favorite team from a national perspective, but I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. The look ahead line for this is something like 6 or 7. I think that's a little too much, but I do think they're going to be chasing UCLA in this game. So I like for both of them to play, in the high 70s, 80s, as opposed to another rock fight. I don't think they're going to let that happen for the second straight time against UCLA. From a, conference championship perspective, it's already done. UCLA has it wrapped up, point to the ring, but they need to win this to remain, however you want to, see it, on the one line. It's clearly important to Cronin. He's talked about the seeding from the very first reveal show. It's something they're talking about in their locker room. You're going to see a great effort from UCLA. But I think Arizona, it's in the same thing. It's like, this is for national reputation and for seeding for them as well. You don't want to slide all the way back to the 3 or 4 with a weekend to the season that fluky lost to Arizona on the 3/4 court shot. So I think you're going to see Arizona play fast, score a lot of points, probably give up a lot of points on their own.
BJ?
I'll go Stanford on the road at Oregon. Typically, I don't like playing these, back-to-back road trips in the Pac-12 on Thursday, Saturday, but it is a short road trip up to Oregon to play the 2 Oregon schools. Stanford has been one of the unluckiest teams in college basketball. They're 360th in Ken Palm's luck ratings. Shot quality record is 17-2, but their actual record right now is 12-17. There's some interesting game theory playing on here with regards to the Pac-12 tournament. So top 4 seeds in the Pac-12 tournament get buys. Arizona State is currently sitting in 4th, 1 game above Oregon. Arizona State is playing UCLA on Thursday night. Oregon is hosting Cal. So we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. I'd assume they're probably going to be tied when we get to Saturday. Then Arizona State has to go travel to USC, where they'll be an underdog as well, and they play later in the night. So Oregon is going to play Stanford at 4 p.m. Eastern, I think, on Saturday. So there won't be any, we need to win. They're going to have to try to win this. But I think you're going to get an inflated line on Oregon, who needs to win, while Stanford's going to have to play in the first round. I think it's a pretty good matchup here for Stanford. The Ducks have not been good defensively at all during conference play. They're 9th in adjusted defensive efficiency. Their biggest weakness is they cannot defend the 3-point arc. They're second to last in the conference, 3-point field goal percentage allowed. Stanford, first in the Pac-12 in 3-point field goal percentage, and they take threes at a pretty high rate. They're around 40% 3-point rate. Stanford also a top 100 frequency team in terms of post upsets, which is an area that Oregon has struggled to defend this season. They're 9th in the Pac-12 in points per possession allowed off those post upsets. And Oregon is a very good offense. They're very efficient at scoring down low. But in the previous meeting with Stanford, which Stanford won, Oregon shot just 43% from inside the arc, only 14 points at the rim, and Stanford forced them into 30 shots from behind the arc, which is an area Oregon has struggled offensively. So I think this is a pretty decent matchup here for Stanford. I think you maybe will get an inflated line in Oregon. We see this typically towards the end of the regular season with teams that need to win and teams that, a win or a loss doesn't really affect their seeding in the conference tournament. So Ken Palm has us at Oregon -7. So I'll play Stanford anything +7 or better.
Yeah, that Oregon, those players just can't get. It's a very complex defense that Altman runs, and they just can't seem to get it. And they'll play a lot of zone, and mix in a lot of zone, even intra-possession. And Stanford has been pretty good against zones this year. One last one I'll throw out: West Virginia at home against Kansas State. I think West Virginia's in the field as they should be, but I mean, they're 19th on KenPom. I have them as a top 25 power rated team. But if they lose this game, they're going to be 6-12 in the conference. That doesn't look great. And then but I think this is a great spot for them here at home against Kansas State, who I think they match up really well with. And I think Kansas State's probably at the peak of its value right now. They've won 4 straight. 3 of them came at home. They've been amazing at home this year. The other one came against a just plummeting in free fall Oklahoma State team, and I actually graded that as an Oklahoma State win. Kansas State's been pretty lucky from a shot quality perspective, both from 3 on offense and guarding the 3 on defense. But it's just a good matchup for West Virginia. No one, I mean, Kansas State's been dominant at home this year. West Virginia should have beat them at home earlier this season, and they weren't even playing nearly as well as they are right now. Their rotation's kind of more refined right now. In that game, West Virginia, I think, led by 14 at one point. They ended up losing in overtime. I think they shot 20 of 38 from the free throw line. They missed 18 free throws, and this is a West Virginia team that's shooting, they're pretty good from the line. I think they're at like 75%. So why is this a pretty good matchup? It's a good spot. I think it's a good sell high spot of Kansas State, but Kansas State will turn it over. That's good for West Virginia. Kansas State will foul you. That's basically West Virginia's two primary avenues of offense. You know, if they're turning you over and they get some easy buckets, that's one. So I guess I should say three, but they're two main areas where they get offense. They get to the line at a top 15 rate nationally. Well, Kansas State's their defense 295th in that category. And then West Virginia dominates the offensive glass, 26 nationally in offensive rebound percentage. You can offensive rebound against Kansas State. So I think this is a pretty good matchup for West Virginia, a pretty good spot. Give me the ears at home to close out the year, to officially get a win and officially punch their ticket to the dance. Mike, you got anything else?
Nope, that was it for me. The last thing I'm going to put out there for my birthday, Loyola could just upset Colgate. That would be fantastic. They are
only 16-point underdogs
against one of the best shooting teams in all of college basketball. So prayers up for the Hounds. Either way, I'm going to pour myself a Greyhound, which is white grapefruit juice and vodka on the rocks. I would argue Loyola, one of the best team names for their mascot. That is also an alcoholic beverage. Shout out to the Purdue Boilermakers as well.
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe Sante Aldama will suit up and
throw a mustache on him. Yeah,
disguised as someone else. But good luck.